Hey YouTube, it's Kurush117000 here, and it is that time of the year, the end of the year, and it's getting to that time when it's the end of the decade as well. And so I was thinking, why not make a list like everyone else is doing, of my 10 favorite gaming series of this decade. Now, some of them might not be a series in this decade, but surely they will continue on. Now, my first one is a game released this year and soon to be a series, with the next one being released either this year or in 2011. Batman Arkham Asylum! Now, I thought that this game really nailed down what it was to be like Batman. It had the detective elements, it had it had the stealth elements, and it had the combat. And overall, I felt it was a real good game. Now, the next game on my list is Crisis. Crisis and Crisis Warhead, I felt, set the benchmarks in what graphics are for this generation, but as well as that, had, in my opinion, some really decent gameplay. I felt that the ability to customize any weapon you had on the fly to meet any situation was an innovative feature. As well as that, I felt that the story wasn't half bad as well. Okay, next up is the Metal Gear Solid series. That's that's 2 through to 4. Now, I felt that over the past couple years when these games were out, they have been brilliant. Including the last one, number 4, which I felt was the best out of the ones released in this decade. I have to admit that the end of 4, seeing the end of Snake, I did get a bit emotional. Okay, we're going to have a little prelude, a little rest, and then we're going to get back onto my rest of my list. Okay, at number 4 is Mass Effect. Now, I felt that Mass Effect was, in my opinion, one of the best RPGs of this generation. It nailed down the combat, it nailed down the exploration, and you know what? For me, it had one of the best backstories of any game. Okay, the next choice, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, including its episode packs. Now, I just felt that this was a tremendous game.
That was a lot of episodes!
I know, a lot of episodes, more than 24. But, overall, I felt that, its storytelling was, one of the best ways to tell a story, and it was just, a really great game, Next up, Gears of War. Now, this, comforted me before the release of Halo 3, and it was just immensely fun to play. Just getting into cover and, then chainsawing, someone in half was just the most fun you could ever have online. Next up is BioShock. Now, I feel that this game needs no introduction. It was just jam-packed full of atmosphere, and its story was immense. I felt that this game was deserving of all it's got.
Big Daddy!
Next up, the seventh game on this list. The Splinter Cell series. I felt that when the first Splinter Cell came out, it was innovative. It was like stealth like you never saw it before. It was realistic and gritty, and I felt that Splinter Cell Chaos Theory was the perfection of that. In my opinion, that was one of the best games I've played. Okay, two last games. Gonna have to say, Ace Combat, is one of the most exhilarating flight games I've played, especially number 6, which was just, in my opinion, the best Ace Combat yet. It was everything I could think of to make the best Ace Combat. The graphics were top notch, and I just felt that, the battles in it, the aerial battles were just immense. It was no longer just a small one-on-one dogfight. It was huge. Okay, and my last game, my last choice, it was the one I started properly gaming with. It's the Halo series, and I just feel that this game, is one of my favorite games and one of the best games this decade for several reasons. It was innovative in the sense that it was one of the first console first-person shooters to be successful. And then for me, it set the benchmark of what a console first-person shooter should be. And with Halo 2, it was just like, this is what a multiplayer first-person shooter should be. And then with number 3, ended the story in my opinion a brilliant way. And with ODST, I loved every minute of ODST, and I felt that the bits with the Rookie the Nighttime segments were some of the best in gaming this year, and I feel for years to come. Okay, now I have two of my friends here with Richard and Adam. Richard does not want to say his pick on air, but I will just basically say his guest choice is Tomb Raider. He is a big fan of Tomb Raider. And I am now passing over to Adam to explain his game of the decade choice.
Okay, guys, the best game of the decade. You are not a proper gamer until you have played this game, guys. Happy Feet. Honestly, Happy Feet the game. You think I'm joking? I'm not. You want to get into the girls' good books with this, man? Lots of girls, I know, love penguins. Favourite and my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, and someone else I know, and lots of other people. Happy Feet the game. I mean, it's got everything. It's got dancing, it's got swimming, and it's got sliding on your belly, running away from birdies. It is amazing. Out of money, over and out.
So yeah, that was my top 10 favourite games of this decade. What do you mean top 8? Okay, top 10 plus 2 from my friends. So anyway, I'd just like to wish everyone out there Happy New Year's, and hope that 2000 is a great year for all of you out there. So thanks for listening, and over and out.